Does this ever happen to you? Okay, I'm going to build the best theme park today. I'm so inspired. I have a vision. I'm going to build Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, all of them together into one mega big park. It's going to be great.
A few moments later.
What's that? Oh, I've made a stress machine to try out on myself.
How do I make my stuff look good? So yeah, this series was inspired by all of the previous comments I've gotten in Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo videos where people are just basically like, I spend all this time, I feel like I spend hours in the game, and I look up and I see just, desolate wasteland of space, all this empty ground, and I feel like I've only just placed a few rides down, and essentially nothing looks good. I look at other creations on social media and everything, and everyone's stuff looks full, vibrant, great, and everything, and it's very disheartening and turns a lot of people off to the game very quickly. So yeah, I just thought we'd do this quick little series where we're going to look at 3 different categories of parks and kind of the design inspirations that go into those parks, and maybe what we can pull as kind of amateur designers, right, from the professionals and everything. So we're going to be looking at kind of high budget, high tier parks, kind of your mid-budget, mid-tier parks, and then finally your kind of lower budget, mom and pop, or maybe even traveling carnival type parks there. So each one of them, even though there are different funding or different budgets for each of them, different theming levels, different focuses even for each of the parks and what they focus on as far as entertainment goes, they all bring really great design aspects and really great inspiration for builders like ourselves. Maybe one day or for one park you want to build a big grand Disney style Magic Kingdom fantasy type park. Maybe another day you want to build a boardwalk, seaside Santa Clara type thing. Another day you want to build a Six Flags or whatever type park. So just kind of giving yourself some fluctuation in being able to from different inspirations and everything can really help. And I hope this series kind of shines some light into how myself and many others kind of design in these games, and kind of helps us open up the toolbox, the tool set that we have to ourselves to really build what you kind of have envisioned in your head. Alright, so for this first video, we are focusing on everything high budget parks. So this is going to be your parks like your Disneys, your Universals, your Eftelings, your Europa parks, maybe SeaWorld parks. So, high theme where budget is practically not an issue. Some of these lower tier to mid tier parks, they can maybe focus more on the thrills to get people in and more capacity and just, more like bam, bam, bam. Let's kind of that mentality. With those parks, where these higher budget parks can kind of fully flesh out the theme that they are going for, where budget is not really an option for them. So yeah, that is what we're looking at today, and how they can kind of inspire your Planet Coaster 2 builds. So high budget parks, they're all about creating an absolute immersive experience from the moment that you step through the gate, or even before then. For a lot of times you think of Disney, especially Disney World, you think when you park your car, you get out of your car and you are fully engulfed, fully immersed in the Disney experience, right? You go on a Disney tram, you go on a Disney monorail, you go on a Disney ferry if you'd like to. So everything is themed and motivated how Disney wants it to be. And Universal, that can be said the same way and everything. So that is a key aspect for high budget parks, is to just kind of everything around the guests, immerse them into the story or the theme that you are trying to tell. And again, this can be all the way down to the pathways, the trash cans, the dining areas, the gift shops. Everything ties into the one immersive story that you have kind of going on with these really big high budget parks. Some examples of high budget park rides and areas and everything like that. That's going to be, let's go to Expedition Everest for the first one at Disney's Animal Kingdom. The ride is not just about thrill, it's also about the entire area that the ride is themed to make you feel like you're exploring the Himalayas, right? You're placed into this tourist Himalayan backpacking trip and being told the story through the museum that you travel through, the different artifacts, and it's very very immersive, right? You get kind of built up as you were going through the line. It's not just a typical switchback or just, oh boy, here we are in a concrete ground with a tent over us kind of thing. The whole line, the story starts in the queue leading up to everything for it. So in Planet Coaster 2, we can go ahead and do that same thing where with a lot of where we have the sequencer events, the terrain tools, the scenery tools, the pathing tools, just a whole bunch of these great tools at our hand where we can start telling the story or the theme, really immerse your guests in that theme throughout the entire experience, right? And then even at the end of the ride, I know this is such a cliche thing and you hear it all the time, but where does the exit pour out to for Expedition Everest? Into a gift shop. There's a reason that Disney does that, right? After you get off the ride, you're still immersed in that story and that theme, and as you get out into the gift shop, which is also a continuation of that story, you're still kind of inspired and wanting to spend a little bucks. And that is a thing in Planet Coaster 1. I'm sure in Planet Coaster 2 it'll be the same way, where the happier the guests are, the more money that they're willing to spend on a versatile amount of things. So definitely, keep those dining areas, gift shops, make a coaster or a big ride, make it an entire section of the park. Think of it that way as well with these high budget parks. And going off of the example of Expedition Everest, it's not just a roller coaster put over there, right? Sure, it's the roller coaster, but it's also the restaurant. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but there's a sit-down restaurant that's over there. There's an immersive gift shop. There's photo areas. There's character meet and greet areas. There's, all of these other things that accompany the roller coaster to make it one huge immersive area to tell this giant story where the centerpiece happens to be Everest and the roller coaster, right? So that might be another way to think of this as you're going in, if you're wanting to do a high budget park, is that you don't always see a bunch of rides kind of spammed all over the place, kind of all together on top of each other. You can do that if the theme matches it, but a lot of times you will see that where one roller coaster encompasses an entire land with many attractions all around it to kind of accompany it, kind of thing. Or one major dark ride holds up an entire land as the major attraction there, with all these mini dining areas, character meet and greets, parades, what have you, to kind of accompany it. So something to think about as you are building for these high budget areas. Next up, let's go ahead and explore the Haunted Mansion at the Disney parks. The main reason is that the Omni-Mover ride system, which is what the Haunted Mansion uses, is coming to the game. I believe it's in the Vintage Ride Pack that you can buy extra with it, but this is an actual ride system that will be in Planet Coaster 2. So if you'd like to build a Haunted Mansion-esque ride, you can definitely do that. And a really great way to do this is to jump onto YouTube, Google Images, you name it. Go on there and find your source material. If you have a vision in your head that you want to do, look up the source material for it. Also use these new AI programs that we have. Type in what you're kind of thinking, and hopefully it might be able to give you a reference image as well. And YouTube videos are also fantastic at these. You can find a lot of lights on videos so you can see all the details and how they build these things out and everything like that. So that is another great resource to look into when you're building dark rides, is the reference images there and everything. And it's gonna be really, really fun to see what everyone builds with these Omni-Mover type attractions. Is someone gonna make a straight up recreation of the Haunted Mansions? I'm sure they will, but I'm also really excited about all the original ideas we're gonna see out of everyone as well. For the next example of high budget theming and building, let's jump over to Radiator Springs Racers in Disney's California Adventure. I don't know if we have this exact tracked ride coming to Planet Coaster 2, the test track ride system. However, it doesn't really matter, because in Planet Coaster 2, if you remember, we can go ahead and build our own custom cars, right? So even if we don't get something exactly like the test track cars and system and everything, we can go ahead and basically get the closest coaster to that system and build it exactly how we'd like to. And especially going back to Radiator Springs Racers, we can go ahead and build the cars from the movie Cars, right? And then again, with all the amazing terrain tools that we have in game and the terrain painting that you can do, you can make the what is it called, Radiator Springs Valley or something like that. I can't remember that. I've never visited it personally, but it looks amazing. But yeah, you can build out all of the landscape, the scenery, the dark ride areas of it. But yeah, again, just because maybe you want to build a certain type of coaster and it might not be in the game exactly how you like it to look, don't forget, you can go ahead and build it kind of custom yourself. And I think it's going to be really fun to see if people can kind of, like we were talking about here with the Radiator Springs Racers, retheme some of the coaster cars to be the cars from the movie Cars. How many more times should I say Cars? And actually build Radiator Springs Racers. So yeah, definitely excited to see all the unique themed experiences people are going to be able to make with that. Another great example of a high budget roller coaster here is going to be from Shanghai, and I believe it's at Magic Kingdom now as well, but the TRON Lightcycle Power Run roller coaster. And I think this is a great use with the sequencer in-game. If you've never used the sequencer in Planet Coaster, or even dating back to the Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 days with the Mixer, I believe it was called, basically this is a timed sequencer where you can time lights, fireworks, water jets, audio, all that kind of stuff into one thing where you can kind of edit it into a show, or you can also edit it for your coasters and track rides as well. So for our example of the TRON Lightcycle Power Run, I know I've seen videos of the coaster going and lights turning on at certain times as the coaster goes in certain areas. You can do that exact same thing in Planet Coaster 2, and you can time it up with the soundtrack that you have in the background and everything. You know, it can be a little time consuming, a little tedious, but let me tell you from firsthand, I sequenced an entire ride in Planet Coaster 1, did a voiceover for it, did some custom audio and everything. It is so cool to see the final product after you put in all that work and see all the timed aspects go off at the right moments and everything like that. So definitely focus on that if you're doing the high budget park, of getting those really cool sequenced events. And, you know, especially with the TRON Lightcycle, you can focus on that kind of futuristic theme and maybe get some cool like neon and all that kind of fun stuff going on there. So some other key elements in high budget parks to not forget about are going to be things like your non-ride attractions. These are things like your shows, interactive experiences, detailed environments. All of these play a really big significant role in the overall theming and story of the park as a whole. One of the first things I think of is in the Magic Kingdom. It actually got a lot of pushback, but kind of is what it is, but the Tangled bathrooms. So there's a set of bathrooms in the Magic Kingdom that was highly themed, and I mean highly themed, to the movie Tangled. And when it was first being built, everyone thought, oh, this is for sure a Tangled ride, but then it came out just to be some bathrooms and a stroller parking area. But you know what? Even though it let down a lot of the enthusiasts and like ride people, for a lot of families and stuff like that, that's an amazing area, right? So that's still really, really highly themed, especially when you compare it to like a Six Flags or something like that, where, you know, if there's a stroller area, it's just gonna be a concrete slab kind of thrown over there. Or the bathrooms, same thing, not gonna look that great, not gonna have a giant tower for you know, for a princess and all that kind of stuff. So definitely keep that in mind. Also, don't forget about your dining options. You know, we've talked about that a little bit before with Everest, but sticking with the same park, Magic Kingdom, I think of the new Fantasyland that they did with the Be Our Guest restaurant, where that is essentially an attraction all on its own, right? But it's also a themed dining experience. But, you know, from the outside all the way to the inside, it is just one complete story through and through. And again, that can be almost an attraction all on its own, even though it's not a ride at all. So your dining options, you know, your non-ride attractions, all those come into play. And then a really, really big one is that if you are going for a high budget park, do not forget about your guest flow and pathways. If you look on Google Maps and look at Disneyland or Walt Disney World, of the different parks there. Some of the other big high budget parks we talked about earlier. If you look at the pathways, you're going to see giant avenues, basically giant main thoroughfares going throughout the park for all these guests to accommodate all of these guests. You know, you also have these little zigzags, these little sneaky trails off basically you just want to disperse the guests out. And a lot of the rides, you know, you got to think of these dark rides especially, they eat up the guests from the paths as well. So good dispersion of rides that, you know, have decent size queues that also eat up guests, and also having good pathways for guest flow that are big enough for all the capacity that you're going to be having. It's definitely something to think about, especially for Planet Coaster 2, because the guests can physically run into each other and you can create kind of bottlenecks like that. You do need to think about all of the extra guests that you will be pulling in with all of these, you know, really big, high themed, high budget attractions, right? So something to keep in mind. So that about wraps it up for my little insights into high budget theme parks there. I would love to hear your comments below about any other insights you have as far as designing goes for Planet Coaster 2, and how to kind of get you going off of that initial jump there, right? I totally understand that it is really scary basically to look at this giant open map and not really like, what do? I don't know, I placed one ride, why doesn't it look great? But you know, if you kind of just stick to references, stick to Google Maps, stick to just looking at other creators and asking them how they did things, download blueprints, take them apart and everything. The foliage brush is going to be your best friend in the world, because foliage and terrain work can really do wonders with filling in areas of the park to make them look really lush and finished and everything like that. So but yeah, this is gonna go ahead and wrap that up, but the next few videos, like I said, we have 2 more videos in this series. We're gonna go ahead and look at the mid-budget regional parks. Those are gonna be like your Dollywood, Cedar Point, Six Flags, different ones like that, where they focus more on the thrills and practical designs more so than the themes, right? And we'll see how we can apply those to Planet Coaster 2. I think this is going to be personally my most favorite video is the next one, because that's kind of my wheelhouse. That's my bread and butter, is where I like to build. So really excited for that. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and do the final video, which will be the small budget kind of mom and pop and carnival type parks. So yeah, they might not have the most grand scale, you know, compared to our high budget parks, but they're full of charm, creativity, and I absolutely love the lower budget parks as well. So yeah, really can't wait for all of those. It's going to be great to look at all of them. Again, if you have any insights or questions about designing or Planet Coaster 2 or anything like that, please leave them down below. We'll go ahead and talk about them and have fun and everything like that. But yeah, hey, thanks so much everyone for hanging out. Always do appreciate it. And until the next Planet Coaster 2 video, y'all have a good one.